Spring Boys.
Good. What? Oh, yeah. You interrupted me. Damn it, Zam. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are, and welcome to the Nerd Nation of Domination Wrestlecast. Let's see how this one goes. We might make some more down the line. To start off, we are going to be talking about what made us fall out of love with wrestling. Because you have 5 hosts here, 6 hosts here even, that no longer really watch wrestling like we used to. And believe me, we all used to watch it religiously. That being said, let me introduce you to the rest of the crew. I am, of course, Fat Joe Man Roundy Savage. I have the guy in the chair, former loyalist Sam, Jericho, and Hosea 101. All right, guys, how we doing?
Great. Thank you for hosting.
All right, no problem. So, with that being said, let's get straight into it. I'm going to start with Zam and just say, what made you fall in love with wrestling at the start, and then just where it all fucking went wrong. So
Okay,
I'm going to take it away.
I initially created a list for all of this, and I'm only going to refer to some things, but I don't want to bore the fuck out of you guys. I think what made me fall in love with wrestling for a start was I thought it was real. I thought it was amazing. Look at this amazing shit. Look at all this real shit. I thought, like these guys are fucking each other up. They're flying off the top turnbuckle. Look at this terrible man there. I'm glad he's getting beaten up. Look at his horrible manager. Thank God he's getting the shit beaten out of him too. You felt justification sometimes when you see these terrible people getting fucked over. This mean man in the face paint. Hate him. You know what I mean? This was the shit I fucking loved. Obviously, my heart was broken, yeah, when I found out this shit was fake, and and I didn't want to believe it. I was in denial at first like that, but then obviously I came to realization, but then I accepted it for what it is, and then I looked at it from a different perspective, that this is like, live action entertainment. This is like going to the theater and watching people beat the shit out of each other. It's happening on stage. You know what I mean? It's great. It was fantastic, and some of as wrestling went along, so did the moves. Things like springboards and stuff like that. And then like weapons and going through tables, everything. It was innovating all the time. It was, and it became more adult as well and stuff like that. It was just great. New characters coming in, and then old rivalries and stuff like that. I loved all of these things. It was fantastic. But then you started seeing patterns emerging, and once you realized how certain things operate and who runs the business, and then you see certain patterns emerging, it starts to put it down there, because you can then see the writing on the wall for the future and how certain things are going to progress with these new guys and stuff like that. You can see who are the favorites, and it becomes so blatantly obvious because they just do this shit all the fucking time. And that was one of the things that started making me fall out of wrestling. Now, as you guys know, I did do wrestling rants. I love wrestling so bloody much. I did rants and stuff. Me and my mate Ray, we did that for a while and stuff, but that eventually came to an end. And I still was watching wrestling and stuff, but I was always telling myself in the rants as well that I can't keep watching this shit. And eventually I stopped. I mean, I'm a wrestling fan at heart. I'm always going to be a voyeur. This thing that's always going to get me, let me have a look at this, see how this is going and stuff like that. But that as long as that old fucker Vince is in charge, nothing's ever going to change. So even if you go back for a little snippet, you can see how certain things are going to progress. Nothing's really going to change. There's always going to be the Vinceisms. There's always going to be in place, and it just puts you off. And plus, Vince McMahon's a fucking asshole as well, and that just puts me off. I do endorse his products, makes me unhappy. There's so many more things. I will get to them. I'm hogging the fucking mic here, so I hope that's enough so far.
All right, Jericho.
All right, and we're just doing like how we fell into it or whatever. We're not really doing the negative right now.
Fell out of love, yeah.
Oh, we're doing both. Okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Well, what got me into it, I'll say what started was really just word of mouth from kids at school and such. Here and I'm going to say this is like, 5th, 6th, 7th grade around there. So maybe like 9 to 11, somewhere around there. And just kids at school saying, "Hey, man, like this is some really cool stuff," or maybe even just like catching conversation, them talking about like, "Oh, what's all this shit?" And so, just watched it, at the end of 2006, started 2007 is when I really started paying attention to it. Watched it. This is when like Batista and H and Cena and Edge and Orton and all the main characters. Michaels was still a main eventer. On Taker was still full time. So it was a really good roster. However shit the storylines may be, it was a really good roster, and these characters were very appealing. And as a kid, you can kind of see it with rose-tinted glasses. You're not really like analyzing the story and saying like, oh, this is shit. Like I can watch better stuff like that. So it was a lot more entertaining back then. And then obviously with a group of like especially like if you go to school, you're seeing these people every day. Talk around the lunch table, shit like that. So that's cool. That was fun. That was a good time in that. I would say one that stood out to me, WrestleMania 23 was a really big one. That was the first WrestleMania, and that was a great that was a great show altogether. But it was just really it was really pivotal moment, with McMahon getting his head shaved, Cena beating Michaels. I believe it was Batista and Taker. It was just a really good card. And then following wise, I also got to check out Backlash live. Backlash was in Atlanta, so I got to see that. That was great. One of the last few matches that Benoit did. A great a fatal four-way match between Michaels, Cena, Orton, and Edge. Great match. Had a rematch between Batista and Taker. And then the night that McMahon won the ECW championship. So pretty eventful card as well. But yeah, so I mean that year was pretty eventful to me. Obviously the stuff with Benoit happened, and then before that, McMahon fucking killing himself was pretty eventful. Especially as like a child being like, 10 or 11, watching this guy blow up on national television, be like, oh my God, Dad, they're saying he's dead on fucking WWE.com. Like, goddamn. So, exactly. So, yeah, it was pretty crazy time, and especially as a kid, you see that and you take it for what it is. And then yeah, exactly. And then Benoit, and then you're like, oh my God, this is crazy. And so what really kept me into it's the storylines and just and really the personalities of it. And what really made me fall out of it is just the staleness, the same booking, the same hokey garbage. I would say one that really turned me off was the anonymous Raw general manager. I mean, my God, that storyline was just so fucking hot garbage. So hot garbage. They build it up, they reveal it, and it's fucking Hornswoggle. What was that like?
They pulled it out their ass.
What was that? A 12 or an 18-month build up? A year to a year and a half build up. The WrestleMania that I attended had this fucking storyline, and they ended with Hornswoggle having the fucking the laptop under the ring. That was how they ended that. Oh Jesus! So yeah, that seeing Punk underutilized, seeing the absolute mismanagement of that feud with him and Cena, and him literally leaving the company and storyline. I don't know why they brought him back so soon. They should have kept him out for at least, a minimum of 3 months. I would say half a year or more. Have this storyline build. Have him go out and do media ventures. This is before streaming and stuff, so you're not going to have stuff like that. But have him go out on radio shows, TV shows, do public events, saying that he's a WWE champion, and hell, have him go on. At that time, this is before that age. At that time, have him go on another show. You don't have to have him perform on it, but have him go, have him represent the company, if you want to say, or whatever, and have him promote himself as a real champion. So just those frustrations, and seeing talent underutilized, seeing storylines given bullshit finishes, seeing my time and effort that I've invested into this programming just shown to me that it means nothing to the company that's producing it, and that they really have no vision going forward. This is just kind of filler most of the time. You're really only going to get a good storyline about once or twice a year, and even when they are compelling, you're only going to get about 10 to 20 to 30 minutes max of that an episode. They don't have episodes like when I was a kid when Michaels and Cena literally went on for the whole fucking episode of Raw. They don't have that shit. They don't have that shit anymore. And it's just it's not compelling, unfortunately, and it's sad.
Yeah. Okay. David.
For me, what started it all was seeing guys like The Undertaker, Hulk Hogan, Roddy Piper, Macho Man, Randy Savage, the original Hart Foundation, the Nature Boy Ric Flair, Ricky Steamboat, Sting, all these guys going out in WWF and WCW portraying larger-than-life characters, and then you get all these great matches. And, we go to a downtime of the steroid trial, which like 93 to 95, arguably the worst years in the business. But WWF somehow fights through it. And then, Ted Turner starts up the Monday Night Wars by taking all of Vince's former stars and leading to the Attitude Era, which was the most fun time that I think most of us have ever been through in the wrestling business.
I agree.
Yeah.
And, and now to me, seeing guys like Austin, Rock, Triple H, Mick Foley, the Road Dogg, X-Pac, and many others, turn the volume up to 11 and be an extension of themselves. That was what was so great about WWF back in the day, was you felt like, oh man, these guys are so cool. These are guys I could go out and go have a beer with. These are dudes that I love to, just kick it with, just have a conversation with. But then somewhere along the line, something happened. And I think for me, it might have been around WrestleMania 2001, WrestleMania 17, when Austin turned heel and shook hands with McMahon. That felt like that was the true end of the Attitude Era, and when it felt like it was the beginning of the end. And it was not necessarily like, boo, oh, how could Stone Cold turn heel? It was more like, boo, we don't want to see this. This is something that we as fans are not ready for. We weren't ready to see a heel Steve Austin. And then, you fast forward a couple of years to 2004, Brock Lesnar leaves. So Vince McMahon is in panic mode, and he decides to put the WWE Championship on JBL. Not that I have a problem with JBL. It's how he got there is what led to me saying, man, this is no longer the company that I love anymore, because you have JBL come in, interrupt a match between Eddie Guerrero and Booker T, and then he just got hot-shotted to the title. I'm like, wait a minute, what the fuck is this? You can hot-shot guys to the title now? They did that with Batista and Cena and others, and I was just like, it just really turned me off during that time.
Cool. Go on, yeah.
I was just about to say before another person starts on that Austin and McMahon angle. I just felt like the crowd reaction. I mean, that was in Houston, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. That's in Texas. Mm-hmm. Not his hometown, but that's his home state. That's a home environment. You're gonna get that pop, and you're gonna do. I just like D. Jose was saying. It was. It was a reaction where people. It wasn't like they were booing Austin. It wasn't like Austin had a lot of heat. It was that they didn't want to see this. It was something that they didn't believe. It was something that Austin. Oh shit, he's just another one of them wrestlers. He ain't really a badass. He ain't really he ain't really telling McMahon how it is. This isn't really what I'm believing in. This is all bullshit. And that's how you kill a base. That's how you kill appeal, and that's how you kill engagement in a medium when you just stick it at the fans, basically. I just it's senseless to me, and it just reeks of just arrogance and nepotism, basically. Just gonna put yourself in the same.
Yeah, spot on. Okay, so I guess it's on me then. So for me, obviously I'm an old dude, so it's pretty much the kind of standard, the whole cartoon era of wrestling. Your Hogan, Andre the Giant, your Legion of Doom, your Nasty Boys. I was always big into my tag team wrestling, but the one guy that made me really fall in love with it, which is where my namesake comes from, was of course Macho Man Randy Savage. And watching his match against Ricky Steamboat, I've never seen, and that match still holds up to this day, as an absolute beast of a match. But I just fell in love with Macho Man more than anything. And that's what really got me into wrestling. And then on the WCW brand, you had people like Sting, who was like great, and all the guys on that roster, which I can't remember from back then, but you're going back like 30 odd years. But it was really good. But then I kind of dipped out of the WWE when it was getting, towards Bret Hart's ascension, and it was still Hogan was there, and he just wouldn't go away, and it was like, stop pushing this fucking guy that can't wrestle. So I jumped out of there, but I was mainly a WCW guy, and kind of watched everything unfold as it happened with the whole ascension of the NWO. I thought this was amazing. Then the Attitude Era kicked in, and then as well you had ECW at the same time as well. And I was like, that was peak. It just doesn't get better than this. There was sport for choice. You had chaos. You had anarchy. You had great matches. You had silly matches, silly gimmicks, great gimmicks, just brawls, and it was absolutely awesome. And then WCW went down the shitter really, really quick after Ted Turner sold the company, Warner Brothers, and the company that bought them just had no interest in wrestling. So obviously WCW dipped. The McMahon bought it, and it was the fucking up of the invasion angle and not having the top guys from WCW that just kind of derailed WWE for me. I was like, here we go again, back to the dumb shit of not knowing what to do with good wrestlers, underutilizing everyone. Booker T was wasted, who was one of my favorite wrestlers in WCW, completely wasted. You didn't get to see much of Rey Mysterio, if at all. You didn't get to see much of Guerrero, Benoit at the start. It took a couple of years for them to kind of get up there. I think I might be remembering that wrong. But it was all that. So I kind of stopped. I stopped watching WWE around 2003, I think, or when Brock Lesnar left. That was kind of the last WWE. And I didn't watch it again until Summer of Punk, which I thought, oh, this is interesting. Let me have a look at this. And that was really, really good at the start. But yeah, like AJ says, they boosted up. But I got into it around 2011. There was a lot going on in WWE that was really interesting because it wasn't just Summer of Punk. It was the ascension of what's his fucking name? Oh, it was Daniel Bryan. There was Zack Ryder.
Yeah,
was, Christian's one more match and his feud with Orton. Then there was a Hall of Pain, and the Big Show had a good run. And there was so much going on that it was all working really well. It was like for the first time since the Attitude Era, there was more than just the top guys having a storyline. Everyone had a storyline. It was really great. But by the end of 2012, they completely fucked everything up. And I just kind of dipped in and out. I think it was around about the same time as you, Zam. It's just started dipping in and out because I used to enjoy watching your rants, and they were great. But around the time I stopped watching WWE, I got into TNA, and TNA was amazing. Honestly, it was so underrated between 2005 to 2009 before Bischoff and Hogan came in and fucked it up. But now, because there was nothing else at the time, it was just WWE. It was like NXT is still great to watch, but I don't watch it because I just can't be bothered. I've kind of just fallen out of love with it all. But WWE just became directionless, mediocre. Everything was for the entertainment of one Vince. No storylines. Hollywood writers that don't know what the fuck they're doing. Nothing to do with wrestling. It was just hot garbage. And these days, it's just hard to kind of get back into wrestling because you got that mediocre crap. Like WWE is just unwatchable, completely unwatchable. It's just trash. And AEW is just a bunch of untrained indie guys doing God knows what. And yeah, NWA, because the roster was small, got repetitive really, really quickly. And NXT, again, you dip in and out. But that's where I am today. So guy in the chair, if you want to chime in. Jason?
I think he might be.
Oh, there he is.
No, I'm here. Sorry, I was clicking on screens trying to figure out which one I was on.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want my my history.
Yeah, your take.
Let me take you to a time back.
To what I get.
Hey,
Hand you
I'm
up.
trying to make it.
You're very
Let me
loud.
take you back
Yeah.
to a time back in 1997 ish. And so, okay, so back in 1997, I was a big WCW mark. Truth be told, I mean, I started. I don't even remember. I remember watching. God, Halloween Havoc. I think was my first one in '97. Right before the big Starrcade, and Sting was doing the black and white thing, and I mean that's kind of what got me hooked. You know, I loved watching the tag teams, the Steiner brothers. This was back before Scott split off with Rick. Luger was, I can't remember who Luger tagged. Huh?
Was it Arn Anderson?
And just, I mean, like there was just a lot.
I think it might have been Anderson. Yeah.
Was it Arn Anderson?
I think it was
might have been Arn.
Yeah. The Lucas WCW.
I just remember Luger tagging with somebody, and
yeah. Anyway, go on.
But really, I mean, I enjoyed, and then, huh? Nothing. And then the fucking cruiserweights came on. Let me tell you what, those guys had some freaking talent. Psychosis, La Parka, Rey Mysterio, Billy Kidman, which I think he went. I don't think he was around when I first started watching, but I mean, part of Raven's Flock. Raven's Flock was another thing. I'm like, wow, these guys are the outcasts at my school, but they're cool here on WCW. You had Raven, you had oh god, Billy Kidman, you had there was like Perry Saturn, there was
Perry Saturn.
So and then there was and also then towards the main event, then you get to see the NWO, and here comes this limousine pulling up, and out comes Hollywood Hulk Hogan, and I'm like, that looks like Hulk Hogan. Who the hell is this? Because I didn't know he had a heel turn. I started after the heel turn, and so you got Hogan coming out, then you got Nash and Razor Ramon. Well, not Razor Ramon. Scott Hall. But I didn't know who Nash and Hall were. So I'm like, I'm thinking these guys are awesome. I've only known them as Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. I've never known them as Diesel and Razor Ramon. So it's like, they're cool. And then I think this is back when X-Pac and Virgil was there, and or Vincent, whatever his name was in WCW. And the $1 Million Man was still hanging out with them.
Oh, geez.
And just, it was all larger than life, but it was very well done. I mean, you had a balanced show that had, I mean, at this point, at least to me, the untrained Mark, you had a balanced show of cruiserweights, mid-carders, main eventers. The NWO was this looming threat. Sting is like in the freaking rafters. You had no idea. And I mean, as I said, I didn't grow up on wrestling at this point. I was just, kind of, I knew of wrestling, but I never really got into it back in in WWF and Hogan and Savage and all that. So I think that Starrcade that year was Roddy Piper and Hogan, I think it was. And that dude, Roddy Piper, I love that man so much. Like Roddy Piper is such a fucking psychopath. And I loved every moment of watching him and Hogan go back and forth, because Hogan didn't know what the hell to do. Piper was unhinged. He's like the Gary Busey of wrestling sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, so I mean, you had all this going on, and I mean, you had Piper, and I know the match at Starrcade was shit, but back then to me the matches didn't matter. It was more like in that part of it, the main event. So it was a story. And I just Piper was nuts, man. He walks out with this bagpipe music, and I had no idea who Piper was either. I just thought he was amazing. And so, I mean, eventually I find out some of my friends at school watch wrestling, so I kind of gravitate towards them, and we start talking. We start doing like Monday nights, like we all go up to one person's house who has the biggest TV on Monday night, and we do the Monday Night Wars thing where we switch back and forth. That's how I got introduced to WWF. And I mean, even over there, I mean, I loved opposite of you, Ginger. I loved Bret Hart. I loved the Hart Foundation. Their feud. I hated Austin. I thought Austin was a jackwagon.
That's great that you hate Austin.
The Nation of Domination was there, and I thought they were great.
Yeah, they were great.
And just and I got introduced to the WWF side of things. I started to fall off with the WWF when Austin started doing the Austin 316. I was not on board with that, and especially when The Rock started coming to fame, I really lost interest. Just because a lot of the good like Shawn Michaels was gone. I was okay with the new DX. Not Shawn and Hunter. I didn't really watch them that much.
Triple H DX.
Yeah, Triple H's DX. I watch it and I like them a lot. There were a lot of good mid-carders around there too. I'm trying to remember the name.
Yeah, loads of good mid-carders. There was loads of good ones around at the time.
But I just, I never really gravitated to WWF because I never gravitated to that only because just because, I didn't like The Rock, I didn't like Austin, and everything centered around Rock, Austin, or Vince McMahon. And although there are some amazing, funny moments in the whole McMahon-Austin thing, like that's a great clip show, but it's like sitting through it, like waiting every week to watch Vince McMahon get hit in the head with a piss pan just wasn't. I mean, it was funny, but it was like I wanted to see the wrestlers. At that point, I had started gravitating towards the talented wrestlers, not just the talented guys on the mic, like Rock and not Hogan. Well, and Hogan too. He can't wrestle either. But so once the whole Monday Night Wars was going on and getting done and over with, it was kind of winding down. I could tell WCW was going to the shitter. I kind of gravitated a little bit more towards WWE. They were kind of getting into the Ruthless Aggression era. I think that's what was coming up next, like 99, 2000. When did WCW get bought? 2000, 2001?
2001. Oh, one, sorry.
Well, that's when I really fell out with wrestling. And I know WCW was shit before that, but still I was holding on hope that Bret Hart would, when he was in WCW, that they'd do something awesome with him because I really love Bret Hart. God, who else was in there? There were some other really great wrestlers that I was hoping they would do some good things with. And I think really one of the points was like the finger poke of doom with Kevin Nash and Hogan. Like that was one of the moments where I'm like, and David Arquette winning the world title.
Oh, that was that's for me. That was it for me.
Did you make it to Vince Russo winning it?
I remember that happening. I don't remember it, but no, I mean, like when your heavyweight championship becomes a joke, and you have a talentless hack holding it, like for more than, that's when I kind of lose interest. Like, Vince Russo holding the belt, even Vince McMahon, like in the WWF, I lost ECW. Well, I'll get into ECW here in a minute. I'll try to wrap this up. But anyway, so this was my pre era when I stopped watching it till about 2005. Then my friend Marcus introduced me to total nonstop action or tits and ass wrestling, TNA. That was by far some of my favorite times watching wrestling. I'm a big mid-card mark. I love all the and I mean the thing that got me hooked was Christian. Christian went like my friend Marcus knew I loved Christian in WWF.
Christian
and he's like, hey, Christian's like going for the world title over at this brand. You should go check it out. And I'm
Christian Cage.
Christian Cage. Bet over there, whatever. Yeah, that's kind of. But so when I saw Christian there, I'm like, holy shit. Then I saw AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, the Motor City Machine Gun. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on at the time. PD
Beer Money wasn't bad.
Huh?
I was saying Beer Money wasn't bad.
They had Beer Money.
They had
Eric
Matt
Young,
Morgan.
Pete Williams.
Matt Morgan should have been fucking way better than he was.
I mean, you could go on and on and on about the talent they had over there. So that revitalized my love
they had the Young Bucks at one point
for pro wrestling. So as I watched that, like and then of course around 2009 I fell out of it because Hogan and Bischoff and Russo or whoever was over there
Finished.
just fucked it in the ass with a cactus with no lube. I mean, it just like like I could have lived without. Like I like the 6-sided ring. I could have lived without it though. The way they did the program just was so bad.
Well, he went from total non-stop action to total non-stop talking when them cunts came in.
Yeah.
I timed it. So I timed 5 episodes. I timed it because I was so pissed off at the time. And in 5 episodes, there was a total of 10 minutes per episode of wrestling.
I'm sure you could. Yeah, I'm sure you could.
Yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah.
God,
it was 10 minutes of wrestling and an hour of talking. It was fucking ridiculous.
And I don't mind matches being a little bit shorter, but you got to have more than just 10 minutes in a total in a show. Like if you have 6 matches in a show and they're good 6 matches, but they're like 7 minutes a piece, I'm okay with that. As long as they get their spots in, as long as they're they get to kind of work with, as long as they do well in the time they work with, I'm okay with shorter matches. But there's got to be good content, not just all the fluff and filler.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So so that was that. And then I did get into WWE again from 2000. I mean, probably around 2007 to 2000. It's probably around 2005 as well, all the way up through about 2012 or 13. I can't remember, somewhere in there. So I can talk a little bit more about that, about why I fell out of love with wrestling. The reason why I got back into it was because there was a lot of good talent back in the mid 2000 range in both companies. TNA way more so than WWE. But so I mean, but then it kind of was a spiral down after TNA in 2009. Even with WWE, it was still a spiral for the next couple years until I just started to hate it again. So that's kind of my wrestling history.
All right,
Bob. I just want to quickly add regarding TNA. I stopped watching TNA when they had their first pay-per-view and they got rid of the 6-sided ring and they had a 4-sided ring. And then you got Hulk Hogan mocking it, calling it a fucking pig pen. I was like, I'm done. I'm done with this. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. Man. It just ruined it. When the moment I saw that 4-sided ring, I thought to myself, identity is over. For me, losing the 6-sided ring was a big deal. Big deal for me.
I mean, no, I agree it was a big deal, but I mean, it was, as I said, I could have lived without it. You know what I mean? Like I didn't want it to go. I didn't hate it. I didn't mind it. Like I it made it unique. It made it its own thing. I just wasn't like, okay, let me give this a shot and see what happens. And yeah, you're right. When Hogan came out and mocked it, and he was basically mocking the fans saying, and how far did the 6-sided ring get you guys, brother? How far did it get you? It's like the 6-sided ring has nothing to do with it. Like
they never needed Hogan as well. They never needed him.
They
never needed him.
What I'll say is y'all really admired the 6-sided ring, because I always just saw that as a gimmick. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, was it bad to deter me from watching it? No, but like, I mean, I always just saw that as a gimmick. I saw that nothing more than them trying to create an identity, and I didn't really have any connection to it.
But what else is there in wrestling besides having an identity? Even wrestlers need to have an identity, whether it's their own identity.
Yes, but it's to a point. Excuse me. It's like calling one of the fucking death matches wrestling, when you're just having people fucking throw goddamn like fucking glass bulbs and barbed wire and fucking bullshit like that. It's like calling that AEW match that they had at Full Gear or whatever with Omega and Moxley. It's like calling that wrestling. That shit's not wrestling.
How dare you insinuate that bra and panty matches are not pure wrestling?
That's real wrestling to me.
So I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, I understand it. Do I think it's terrible? No. Did it interfere with anything? No. But I mean, like I said, it just came across as gimmicky to me.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, now we can just kind of pick apart a few things and that. With WWE, it was like the minute they went on the stock market, it was game over. as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Because-
I remember that shit.
Yeah,
When
the
they
minute
went on
they
the stock market,
floated, that was
yeah,
it.
that was the beginning of the end.
Yeah, that was it. Because it was like, oh shit, the stockholders are unhappy. Quick, do something, boost ratings, and get the stock up. And it was that. It's been like that since. No consistency with storylines, and also like wrestling fans can kind of take a bit of the blame in the sense that back in the day, feuds used to be drawn out. They used to last for ages, months, years. These days, they have 2-3 matches, and people are like, oh, that's it now, let's move on. It's like, well, what do you mean move on? We haven't even started yet, and you think a couple of matches, like for what it was when Cena and CM Punk fought, and they had a lot of matches that I was always looking forward to. They always put on good matches. They always had a good rivalry. There was a mutual respect there, and you could tell how they worked with each other in the ring. And I was like, you know what? If they feud for 10 years, it's going to be great. But it obviously never went anywhere, and they just, gave Cena the Rock and main events and all this shit. And CM Punk was like, just chuck him there. He's not one of mine. I don't like him. So kind of fuck him. And it was that constant push. Like anytime a wrestler got over, they had to insert John Cena there. It's like, oh yeah, it was like I just saw him as a fucking leech,
Parasite.
And there was just no storylines anywhere. It was just.
This goes back to like the JBL thing. Like that for me was my moment of like, this is not the company I love anymore, because it was like you had Booker T come over from Raw to SmackDown, and he was like, yo man, I don't want to be here. Eddie Guerrero was like, hey, motherfucker, you want to go? I'll put my WWE title on the line against you. And I'm like, holy shit, if they're going to do Booker T versus Eddie Guerrero, I'm with it. Let's go. And then they had JBL come out of nowhere. And I'm like, I don't have a problem with you pushing JBL. It's how you did it with him. That was the start of it for me, because it was like, first of all, they should have put the U.S. title on him, and he and Cena could have tore the house down for the first half of 2004, whatever that was. And then you could have had JBL and Eddie main event the second half of 04 while getting Cena ready. But it's that shit that goes back to hot shotting. They have to hot shot guys, and then they all.
One of the problems was Eddie Guerrero felt too much pressure holding the title, and he didn't want it. And then there was a plethora of injuries as well that kind of led to JBL's out of nowhere push. They had a thin roster at the time. But they could have. I was watching it by then, so I can't say what happened. I just know from the, old like documentaries and watching back at it and things like that, as to that was the reason that kind of push happened. And in APA, I liked Bradshaw, but when he changed that gimmick, I didn't really watch it, so I can't really say anything.
I mean, if we're talking about JBL, I mean, I actually like JBL. Like that was one of the things I remember seeing when I first came back. Like JBL's a good heel, and even though for a big guy, he's a good worker. I mean, he's not like is he the most athletic? No, I mean, but great Khali.
And oh god, and what I will say about JBL is I agree with Jose that he wasn't necessarily championship material, and the way that he got in there was just kind of it wasn't that great. I mean, it was kind of like he circumvented the system, but I think that's a genuine way to get heel heat. I think that's a great way, and I mean, regardless of what you think of him, he did generate that heat. He was getting reactions from crowds, and that that also gave a platform for Cena to overcome, and another person for Cena to put under his resume and to get over with the fans. So, I mean, I really feel that it was a pretty good use of that time. Was he necessarily great? No. But he was a great heat magnet, and because of that, that allowed Cena to overcome that, and it allows Cena to get an even better push and a better pop and a better reaction than he would have without that.
Well, I also agree, because I feel like JBL generates the same kind of heat that Jericho did back in the day. I agree. Jericho is much more talented than JBL, like in the ring. Still is, absolutely. But I still see that same Jericho heat JBL was getting. Here's my thing. why would they? And maybe there's a reason for this, but I remember this now that you mention it. Why would they not put the WWE title on Booker T? Besides the fact that he's black.
Because he's black.
Well, you got it. You got it, player.
That is the reason.
God, I was hoping
He's
for a
black.
different reason because that's so stupid.
He said I was hoping for a different one. That's it.
Look how they treated him at WrestleMania.
1 second. Booker T, they absolutely. I mean, that was one of the fucking things that made me hate WWE was his treatment. In WCW, he was a fucking 5-time champion. He was an amazing wrestler, so talented.
No,
The last
Ginger.
champion.
He was the Ginger. He was the
5-time champion. Been a Rooney.
Oh,
But
we should all say it. 5.
yeah, 5 times. But you know, it's with regards to the WWE. Let's put it this way: Kofi Kingston won the WWE Championship, not the old WCW one, the WWE Championship, and he is the first black guy to win it. Like the Rock is obviously half Samoan, that.
Rocket, yeah, but the Rock is mixed. He's half Samoan.
He's mixed, exactly. But that's how fucking insane. Like Bobby Lashley should have been a champion.
Oh God, yes.
Mark Henry should have been a champion.
But before we get carried away, because one thing that I do want to do, and I have someone in mind, so I can go first on this segment. But I think that we should all list off someone that we really admired that just we feel was not utilized properly and had a lot of potential, but just didn't fulfill it. And if any of you want to go first, that's fine. I already have mine in mind.
No, go AJ. Yeah, you go.
Okay, mine is more of a recent one, and I didn't even really see a lot of this guy like live, but just seeing clips of him and seeing the audience reaction and the internet reaction to him at a time, I don't understand how Damian Sandow didn't get over and didn't get some sort of push from that. I mean, anything that man did. I mean, any fucking gimmick that man did, whether it be the fucking the fucking scholar gimmick or whether it be the Rhodes scholar gimmick that he had with Cody Rhodes. I forget what he was impersonating people every week. He would do Hogan and he would do Savage and he would do all these characters from the past. And then they had him being fucking the Miz's stunt double.
Mrs. Black
So first he was his bodyguard and whatever, and then he was his fucking stunt double. And this man would literally do fucking bumps on the outside of the ring while fucking Miz is getting bumps. And I mean, don't get me wrong. Am I the type of person that usually likes that comedy, like bullshit, like that stupid shit? No. But this dude fucking just taking bumps by himself, acting like a goddamn dumbass to do. Just knowing that this is this man's job and he's performing it well, the people are reacting to it. He's literally fighting a fucking invisible man and people are cheering him on. I just don't understand how you don't give that guy a fucking push.
Yeah, I agree. David, if you want to chime in on...
For me, this is going to surprise y'all because I used to not care for this dude, but Zack Ryder, for me, he's my guy. Out of all the underrated guys that they never fucking pushed or never gave that solid like mid-card run to, Zack Ryder's that guy. I was like, man, yeah, I don't care for the gimmick, but I thought he was one of those dudes. He busted his ass in the ring, and when he won the U.S. title, when was it, at Survivor Series 2011, and the entire arena was chanting for him, and they were going crazy. It's amazing how they didn't capitalize at that time. It's crazy. It's like, what did they do? They fucking fed him to Kane, and like they used John Cena to bury him, and I'm just like, man, thank God WWE ended up letting him go.
Yeah. And then another one I believe with Ryder was didn't they have him win at WrestleMania to only give up the title the day after? I believe.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, what the fuck is that, man?
Yeah. I mean, come on, man. Like, yeah, okay, I'm not crazy about the gimmick, but the dude could go. I will give him credit. I'm like, as a wrestler, he could go. He sold his ass off. He had great.
They did this with another famous and legendary character as well that I'll leave in case somebody wants to say. But I mean, they have an issue with doing that is giving these people either no championship runs or championship runs that literally last like 1 day or 1 week.
Yep.
Yeah.
So any one of you three.
Zam, if you want to go next.
Well, you both kind of taken.
It doesn't matter if you've got the same person in mind. It's fine.
No, it's fine. I was pondering, and I can't.
Zack Ryder's one of mine. So
yeah, for sure. Come back to me in a minute. I'll speak to Bob.
Okay.
All right.
Bob, if you have one in mind, go ahead, and if not, then we'll go to Ginger because it seems like Mr. Savage has got something in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I got a good one.
Okay, you go ahead. Great one.
Yes, a brilliant one.
Shelton Benjamin, one of the best, in my opinion, one of the best workers, one of the best athletes. He is AJ Styles before AJ Styles was a thing. Like if Shelton Benjamin was in his prime in TNA, he would have been world champion many times over. This guy ran circles around Triple H in Triple H's prime.
Yeah,
and then he's supposed to go for the title, and of course he loses. And it's not even the WWE title.
Didn't they have Shelton Benjamin beat him? Someone will correct me out there. Didn't they have Shelton Benjamin beat him like 3 times in a row? He beat Triple H like 3 times in a row, which was an achievement in and of itself back in the day. Because it was like, if you could
also
time.
He did. It was he beat him either 2 or 3 times in a row, and then the next challenge was they said, "Oh, if you beat him this time, then you'll get a shot at the title." And then of course he beat him, so I think that was the 3rd time. Yep. And then if he goes for the title, and then it's a squash. Like you build up Shelton Benjamin for 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, he this was March 22nd, 2004. He was drafted to Raw. He was a face when he got an upset victory over H. Over the next 3 weeks, he then got 1 by pinfall, 1 by countout, 1 by disqualification, and then like Bob was saying, he got squashed.
Yeah, because why can we have a talented superstar actually win? Especially back in 2004, when they're building up for Cena. Ugh.
Yeah.
And Batista, which I'm sorry, I am not a Batista fan, but I mean, look, Shelton Benjamin should have been WWE or World Heavyweight Champion on and off between the mid 2000s. He should have got a major push, and he should have been. I mean, I don't understand the WWE's obsession with pushing these guys, making you think they're going to win, burying them, and then never coming back to them. Like, I'm okay if Shelton goes for the title, loses, but they continue the feud, and then he wins. But at the same time, it's like you've never even put the strap on this guy ever. Like at least with CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, even Dolph Ziggler, you put the strap on them for a little while. Well, Dolph, not so much. I could get into that, but I don't want to steal him from anyone if that's any of your guys.
Well, I was just going to continue on, just saying with what's it called with Shelton Benjamin. I mean, it seems that right after he got with Triple H, he just fought more Evolution people. He lost to Orton at a Intercontinental Championship match. They had him win it against Jericho, and then they had him. He had the longest Intercontinental Championship reign of the decade with 244 days. But it just made me laugh is that this guy goes from facing Triple H to facing Ric Flair to facing Randy Orton to facing Chris Jericho and winning the IC title, going to take the IC title for however many days I just said, and then immediately given it a losing streak and given a comedy gimmick where basically his mom comes out and slaps him every time he loses a fucking match. It's like,
I was just gonna say, didn't he have that mama gimmick?
Oh, yeah. It's like, good God, man, hold on. You're having him face. You're having him face the fucking COO. Obviously, we wouldn't notice at the time, but you're having him fucking face the heir apparent of a living legend, Randy Orton, who's nothing to snuff at. Yeah, he's facing God, and then he's facing 80s God, and then he's facing Randy Orton. and then he's facing Chris
Yep.
Jericho, who's present God, and then he's facing fucking. Then he gets the IC title, and then he gets buried. I just don't understand it. How do you push a guy for 2 years and then bury him with a losing streak?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. They build them up and then they just bury them immediately.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely
then
right.
All right, I
then
got
I've
my
got
guy
it.
now.
Okay, go ahead.
Go for it.
Well, this guy's actually been world heavyweight champion, but I'll put him in the same bracket as Dolph Ziggler regarding his reign, and that is Christian.
Yeah.
I remember when he won it. The next day, he loses it to fucking Randy Orton.
Wasn't it that night? I thought it was the same night.
No, it wasn't.
No,
He won it
it
on
was
pay per view in a ladder match. Well, basically, but when I say next day, I mean like pretty much the moment he's on the next day and then the next event, which is SmackDown, he loses it to Randy Orton. I mean, it's a disgrace. And then, don't get me wrong, there's so much goodwill for Christian at that particular moment, and then they turn him heel, and it's like, you want people to hate on this guy when they all want him to succeed. Stop making people hate on somebody that you want to reach the top. It's just so bad. I didn't like it at all, and he just never got anywhere after that. And he never really challenged for the WWE title, I believe. I mean, not credibly. Not that you could ever believe he's gonna fucking win it. And he's just used so poorly because he's a really good fucking wrestler. He was really good in TNA as Christian Cage, and he came back very credible. But the WWE saw nothing in him. The famously Vince McMahon, talked to him like Eric Bischoff spoke to fucking Stone Cold in WCW, thinking he's only ever going to be a mid-card wrestler.
Marketable in you.
And it's just, it's really sad how they used him. And I just want to also add, Damien Sandow, 100% agree. Zack Ryder, I agree as well. It's really bad how they use these guys. Anyway, that's that.
Okay. So
not to mention.
Sorry, go on.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna go ahead and say one thing that I'm noticing on Christian, just that I didn't know beforehand is, I mean, he's still only, sorry, I'm scrolling up the Wikipedia page, still only 46. So, and I mean, he retired in, what was it, 2014? So I mean, he had to retire right at 40. And it says at least what one of the things that he said is he was on one of Jericho's podcasts about the Benoit tragedy, and he was saying that basically that was one of the reasons why they wouldn't give him clearance. It wasn't even necessarily that he couldn't do it or that he couldn't get clearance. It's that because of that in the past and because of everything that we know now, CTE, and just because WWE had that tragedy before, that they really didn't want to give it to him. So it's just how times have changed. If it were 10 years prior, he might still be wrestling. We wouldn't know.
Yeah, David.
And then not to mention now, going into it, another reason why I think we all don't love it is, what the fuck is it with this 50-50 shit? Like, why does everyone win? Like, it's infuriating. Like, it's like, okay, wrestler A will be backstage and wrestler B will have a title, and then they'll go like, hey, I want that. And then what are they going to do? Instead of building it up and building it up and building it up, you put them in a match like that night or the very next week, and then the babyface wins the first match. Why the fuck did that happen? Under no circumstances should that happen.
Yeah.
Like, you have the babyface go over, and then how the fuck does the heel regain credibility,
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, so if we look at recent events, one of the best handled ascensions, and obviously then it just all went to shit really quickly, was, and it was all by accident, was Kofi Kingston. Mm-hmm. That build-up was perfect. That rivalry was perfect, and the match was perfect. And then
it was an okay match.
WWE style, they're like, quick, give it back to Brock Lesnar. But that was a really well-handled thing, and it was all by accident. And sometimes it seems like WWE's best moments come when they have to improvise.
Yeah.
And when they can't, when it's out of their hands, and they're like, okay, we've got to take this momentum then. Because if Mustafa Ali never got injured, there's no way they would have made him
Did Kofi ever close a pay-per-view when he was champion? I don't know if he ever closed one.
No, I don't think he
Did
did.
Kofi?
Nope.
Yeah.
He ever closed it. I don't ever
I
main
would
evented.
imagine.
Like, I know
I'll have to check it out. Let me check out his page. Give me a moment.
All right,
I
so
did-
I'm going to quickly go over my list of underutilized wrestlers because I've got a few here as well. I'll start off with the, in repetition, just obviously Damien Sandow. Again, the problem with Damien Sandow was he got himself over, and the WWE just didn't know how to handle it after that. He was so over, and clearly they didn't like it. I think it was Triple H that didn't like that he got himself over or some shit like that. And they just buried him, and then that was it. They just got rid of him. And it's criminal. He was fantastic. John Morrison is another one.
Yeah,
I love John Morrison.
Good shout.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Brilliant wrestler. If you look at his runs in TNA and Lucha, fantastic. Lucha Underground, he did really, really his best matches were there, in my opinion. Booker T, obviously, that's criminal. That one's always stuck in my craw. Zack Ryder, again, his biggest crime was getting himself over. And WWE
Yeah, don't do that.
What a fucking I'm sorry, it's just ridiculous. Oh God, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, that's his crime. He got himself over, and the WWE were like, yeah, we'll give you the US title, and then fuck you for getting yourself over. Who do you think you are? If Vince doesn't approve, you're going back down there. And as quickly as they built him up, by WrestleMania, they completely fucking buried him. It didn't even take that long. He had the US title, and they buried him to Jack Swagger and Kane, of all fucking people. But they should be more thankful to Zack Ryder because he's the one that put them on the map for social media. Before then, WWE had
not happened. Yeah, they wouldn't be mentioning Twitter every 5 fucking minutes.
Exactly. They wouldn't have bought tout and all this kind of shit. So they fucked him. That was criminal. Next, obviously, Bobby Lashley, an absolute beast. He's got good charisma as well, but just the minute they fed him to Cena, that was it. It was like, okay, that's it. It's over. Yep. Christian, you guys covered it really, really well. Another guy I thought would have been.
Can I bring something up about Lashley really quick?
Yeah, go for it.
I always I think I bring this up every time we talk about Lashley, but the guy should have had the title at Great American Bash 2007. Like, he should have beat Cena for the belt. Was it 07 or was it?
Yeah. I wasn't watching at the time, so I'll leave it.
No, it would have been 07 for sure. 07.
It was right after the one happened.
It would have had to have been, because that would have been in the summer, so that's after he lost the ECW championship, after the Umaga feud, after the McMahon feud.
Yeah, it was 2007.
Okay.
All right, well, he should have won the belt there, so fuck Vince McMahon. Anyway, continue, sorry.
So another one on my list is Steve Blackman, who was an absolute beast of a human being, and they just stuck him in. Yep. He had a great feud with Shane McMahon.
Steve Blackman.
Yeah, Steve Blackman was fantastic.
Jesus Christ, I'm sorry. I'm just still looking at fucking Kingston's page and then the things. He didn't get in the main event, but a fucking mixed tag team match between Rollins and Lynch and Corbin and Lacey Evans got in the main event. What the fuck?
Ridiculous.
What the fuck?
Crime is being black. That's
what the fuck?
Yeah.
By the way, I wanted to say this earlier regarding JBL. I totally forgot. And this also correlates with Kofi Kingston. Kofi Kingston, everyone was really happy with him because he served his dues. He deserved the WWE title shot, and no better place than WrestleMania with a fantastic opponent that works with him like Daniel Bryan. And in a way, JBL, in the heel sense, he served his dues too. He's been in the WWE for a while. He was part of the Blackjacks and all of that shit. Yeah, so he's been in the WWE for a while. So in a heel sense, and the people did hate on him. Don't get me wrong, I don't think he's good at all as a wrestler. Character, yeah, wrestler, atrocious, but a singles wrestler that is. I loved him in the APA, but in that sense, I think he paid his dues. And if you do pay your dues, you've been in the company for a little while, then and no one ever really thinks of you getting to the top, then it's always good that you do. And those things should be applauded.
Yeah. Well, speaking of APA, the other person on my list is Farouk, who should have been a
Ron
WWE.
Simmons.
Yep. Damn.
fucking amazing. Ron Simmons was spectacular. Damn. Yeah, he should have been. And,
No.
you know, he should have been a champion while he was in a Nation Domination, and that's where the Rock should have kind of split off from there and then feuded with each other for that world title. But they just gave him nothing. Scraps.
But
Next on the list,
wow. Y'all are right. Not a single fucking main event for him. That's just disgraceful.
No, not a single one. Sorry,
he got a main event on a house show that had a 1 hour WWE Network special. That was it.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
That's what Kofi had, huh? Shit, that sucks. But okay, yeah, Farouk, he had 2 strikes against him. Number 1, he's black. Number 2, he was a WCW guy, and Vince couldn't have that. That's the point I wanted to make. If you were a WCW guy, you may get over to a certain degree, but Vince ain't going to push you to the moon. Maybe Jericho might have been the only guy out of all the WCW guys that made it. Well, yeah, Goldberg.
Yeah, well, his run was not.
Goldberg's the one.
Yeah. Okay, so next on my list is R-Truth as well. During his whole run when he went crazy and was feuding with John Cena. Now, I fucking get so annoyed with wrestling fans when they shit on that whole time with that feud with John Cena.
Really?
These idiot marks are like, oh, you know, R-Truth, he should never have been in the main event. I was like, fuck off. Ron Killings from TNA, all right, he's a superb wrestler, and he's got all the fucking charisma in the world. And this crazy gimmick, you know, they should have run away with it and made him more unhinged to the point where he would have won against him and won the title. But he never got the spotlight. You know, it was a one-off thing because I think somebody else was injured at the time, and that was it. Idiots. Right, next, Wade Barrett.
Wade Barrett's a good shout.
Yeah, Wade Barrett, 100%.
Wade Barrett was no. Yeah.
You know, Nexus was an amazing opportunity to kind of do this kind of new NWO type thing, and they just brought it in to again do what they always do, just to pop up Cena. And that was it. And Wade Barrett is possibly one of, like, in my top 5 of criminally underused people. He was so over. And when he got himself over with the bad news thing, because it was clearly a gimmick they stuck on him just to try and derail him, it got him over even more. So then they stopped that. And then
God damn it, you can't do that. You don't get yourself over unless I tell you to.
Exactly.
That's how that goes.
And the last on my list is Cesaro, who is pound for pound one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. And the fact that he hasn't won a WWE championship is criminal. That's where Paul Heyman should join allegiances with, because he's not a good talker. If you need the talker, you don't even need to be a talker. You can just be a silent bruiser type and that. But yeah, Cesaro not getting over really is it might happen, but he won't.
I mean, he's even white and he didn't get over.
Huh? Yeah.
He's white and he didn't even get over. Like, what the hell?
But he's foreign.
Yeah, but he's got an accent.
You know, the thing with WWE, if you're not Canadian, if you're not American, if you're not of Irish descent, your chances are very, very slim. Being the WWE champion.
You could almost even
almost
even add Sheamus to that list, despite the way they pushed him back in like 2009, 2010. They gave him the title, and then after that,
oh man, they gave
nowhere.
They gave him such a. I remember that match vividly. That fucking it was a tables match between him and Cena. Fucking great match.
Yeah,
like TLC 2010.
Now that boy's white.
That was one of his only good matches, because for me, Sheamus is one of the most boring people to watch in the ring. He's a good wrestler, but he's boring. Like Triple H. Just boring to watch.
He's good, but what's outstanding about him? Yeah.
On the R-Truth note.
What was Eddie Guerrero the first Latino WWE champion?
Who?
Eddie Guerrero.
No, I think he was very underutilized.
No, was he the first Latino?
Oh, I don't know.
Hold on. Let me look up.
I thought Pedro.
I don't think he won the WWE championship.
He did. It was a WWE
Oh,
champion.
did he?
And Benoit won the WCW World Championship one.
That was a great year.
Yeah.
I don't care what y'all think about Benoit. That was a great year.
What one?
Yeah.
04?
Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention Shelton Benjamin as well. He's
I think it
fucking
was
brilliant.
04.
Yeah. I know you mentioned him, Roberto, but yeah, I fucking love that guy.
No, it's okay. I'll
Yeah,
share
yeah.
Shelton. As I said, these are all guys that are just not utilized well at all.
But like, there's so many. By the way,
And now
this
it
thing's
makes
been brought to. I mean, just like to get more like political. Like Vince McMahon's a fucking asshole, and just watching the WWE, knowing that I'm endorsing this guy every time I watch it, knowing how he treats people, and condoning it by watching it, it leaves a bad feeling inside. You know, I've always been a wrestling fan. You know, I come back for a little bit here and there, but just to know that a lot of these wrestlers now are trying to take things into their own hands does make me feel really happy. Seeing AEW doing it the right way makes me feel happy regarding looking at. I mean, maybe the product's not that great, but at least they're looking after their wrestlers, you know, which is what needs to be done. And you see the amount of deaths that's happened in the WWE. I mean, you know, as fans constantly watching this product, asking these guys to, you know, beat the fuck out of themselves and shit like that for us.
Well, you've got to look at the. Sorry, 1 second, Sam. You've got to look at the contracts they're given as well. They're fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
They're a joke. They're independent workers, yet they can't work anywhere else. They're not given any.
Yeah, you're
medical.
you're an independent contractor, but in reality, you belong to WWE. It's like joining the army. It's like, yeah, once you join the army, you don't belong to you no more. You belong to them.
Yeah, the army gives you health care, Jose.
Yeah, the army at least gives you a health insurance.
The army gives you healthcare.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. I mean, I always wonder how you guys can even do stuff like this. Yeah, considering it with your healthcare and stuff like that, how can people even consider going into wrestling? Probably get fucking, you know, bankrupt after one injury. But
well, I mean, if any related injuries and things like that, obviously they're covered. But if something like, for example, with Roman Reigns getting leukemia, WWE wouldn't have covered that. You know, he would have had to cover that himself. And anything post treatment that you want to still check, like Daniel Bryan going to like 11 different doctors to get his brain checked out, just to get the all clear. You know,
it's
he
weird
would
because
himself.
it's weird,
You know,
because it's like WWE will provide health insurance for, like, I think like their commentators and their crew and, you know, guys like that. But for the wrestlers themselves, they're like, nope, fuck you, you're on your own.
Yeah,
Which just pisses me off so much. I'm like, oh, these poor guys and girls.
yeah,
yeah.
I just took down a list of stuff like, you know, like which is all in like related to Vince, like banning words. Like you can't say belt or title. You know, you can't say shot, title shot. You know, stuff like that. You know, he was constantly playing with the words. You couldn't say wrestling at one point.
Well,
I remember once Michael Cole. Even though the show's called the WWE, the World Wrestling Entertainment, and it's got this main show is called it's called World Wrestling Entertainment. I mean, their name is wrestling. It's got wrestling in their name. It's so crazy, you know. It's so like I remember when CM Punk did his famous mic drop, and obviously got cut when he started getting deep regarding, you know, the hypocrisy of a company being part of a bully charity that pretty much had bully culture embedded into how it operates in the locker rooms. Mm-hmm. And these things just added to me eventually.
And can I interrupt there 1 second?
Yeah.
And what another thing that annoys me with these old school wrestlers and dickheads like well, what's his fucking name? Bollocks, you know, the guy that's got the podcast.
Jim Cornette.
Cornette.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's too nice to each other. There's no leadership in the locker room. Everyone's just supportive of each other. It's like, yes, because why you don't need the bully mentality. You don't need that old school toxic bollocks that there was. WWE doesn't give a shit about you. So why they're gonna get you, whoever they want over? That you can't fight your way to the top anymore. It's whatever Vince wants. So there's no point trying to stab each other in the back. So that's why that mentality's gone out, and people still clamoring for that kind of shit. It's just like,
it's
stupid.
The thing is, it all goes back to when they went public. That was the beginning of the end. The day they went corporate and were no longer a mom and pop shop, that was the beginning of the end.
Yeah, it was.
Because
Jose Jericho, you mentioned those two names, Zack Ryder, Damian Sander, two people. One person who got himself over through YouTube. One person was just getting himself over because he was just so naturally talented. WWE gets these two guys, doesn't want to utilize it because it's not what they want to fucking do, and that's the sort of company you're dealing with. You realize that people are loving these guys, and you're not giving us these guys. You don't want to give us the people we like, and it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. It's just, and how can you? And that's happening. It's in your face. Remember that promo Vince gave when he says when he was telling people, I make you watch what I like, or something like that. Please tell me you guys remember it. He was on Raw and he was basically telling everyone
when he said
exactly how it was.
You want what I want when I tell you want.
He's like telling people, that I make you watch what I want you to watch, or something like that, and stuff. And he was being very honest, and that's how it is. And you know what? Well, if you want us to watch what you want to watch, well, I'm not going to fucking watch it. And that's how it's become. It's become like that for all of us. Oh, it's like that for me, that's for sure. Daniel Bryan injury, by the way, was the nail in the coffin, because at least he was somebody the fans shoved down their fucking throat, because we want this guy, and we were letting you know that we wanted this guy. Loved it. And once he got injured, it was business as usual. And
I still to this day,
it's just not the same, even though he's come back.
He got injured with Kane, and I still to this day think that they did that deliberately to try and injure him to end his career, because he was so over. WWE didn't know how to handle it, and they wanted to do something to kind of stop it. That's very conspiracy.
That's ultimately cynical.
Yes, very, and it's probably bollocks, but it was just that someone like Kane,
Daniel Bryan, and CM Punk.
Sorry, go on. Go on, David.
Daniel Bryan and CM Punk could have been the two new megastars to, get a new generation of wrestling fans into it, but they had to go and fuck everything up. And I think looking back, speaking of CM Punk, he's one that needs to really be brought up. When he left, I think he was in the right to leave when 2014 came around. It's like, fuck you guys. I give you great matches with guys like Cena. I give you great matches with guys like Ziggler and Daniel Bryan and so many others, and you're not going to put me in a main event until John Cena comes up. And, here I am. I'm the WWE champion for 343 days, and I got treated like a fucking mid-carder. All I wanted was to main event WrestleMania. Even if you would put me in a triple threat match and it only lasted like 5 minutes on my end, all I wanted was to main event WrestleMania. Was that asking for too fucking much? Apparently so.
Yep.
And then D-Bry gets hurt, and that was the end of that for me. Those two moments were it for me.
Yeah. Yep. Well, that's it. That was the end of an era, because that should have been the new era. You can't have the same guy at the top for 15 years. It's just ridiculous. And that's why I'm glad Cena ended up just leaving and going off to do Hollywood, because it was like, and now who we getting shoved down our fucking throats? Roman Reigns was the guy that was succeeding in him. It's like, nobody fucking likes Roman Reigns. He'll be better off as a heel. We'll like him if he's a heel. But it's
or if he at least just came out and said, like, okay, here's the deal. If you're with me, if you're with me. If you're not, fuck you. I'm moving on. Like, if they had Roman Reigns be that kind of guy that could be himself, he could still be that babyface.
Yeah, the tweener.
They gave him like a kind of gimmick. I'd be with that. I'd be like, okay, if Roman came out and he was like, fuck each and every last one of y'all, but to those of y'all that are riding for me and representing me, thank you, I appreciate it. Had they would have kept Roman like that, I would have been like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But, it's
the guy's solid worker. He's a very solid worker, but nobody wants him at the top because it's Vince's boy. If it wasn't Vince's boy, then it would be a different story.
No, he
So-
wants
The top needs to be spread out. The top needs to be way more spread out. It's just going to be just one guy out there, like the pinnacle of fucking everything, like they've always had. It needs to be, the wealth needs to be shared out a bit more, a lot more main eventers, spare it out, because then, then when people like Cena gets injured and stuff, you've got other people who can take the reins. But the moment Cena's back, it's just business as usual. That's why people like CM Punk never really got far.
But this is what brings it to the next point, which is things they could do to make it better. And one of the things they could do, because the WWE has never had a more talented roster in its history. I mean, from top to bottom, they have some of the best wrestlers, not necessarily the best talkers, but super refined, super talented. NXT is just like in a league of its own with the talent they have and things like that. What they need to do now is not have one top guy or two top guys. You need to have at least 6 or 7 on each of the brands as your top guy. You can rotate, keep it fresh, you keep your rivalries fresh. And not just that, when that top guy is not in the spotlight, you move them down to the mid, then they feud around the mid, so you build up other mid-carders, and that way you keep everyone fresh.
Yeah.
People can then ascend to the top. Then people can take a step back and stay at home and rest and recuperate. They don't need to be on the road 300 days a year and all this. And you just need to let wrestlers be themselves and guide them where you need to guide them. Don't give them a full-on script that they have to memorize and read verbatim, because they also, have you noticed now in WWE, there's 2 things that really annoy me apart from the overall product. Number 1, all the promos sound the same. Okay? They're all the same.
Yep.
All right? And number 2, all the matches are the same. There's no standout matches anymore. They all have to follow a same cookie cutter pattern, the old school Vince WWE way. And then when they do like have high flyers, you know what you're going to expect with it. And it's like, I'm not blown away anymore by the matches. Everything's the same.
For me,
compared to NXT.
For me, it's the
go on.
Yeah. And then for me, it's the 50-50 booking. Stop that shit. Stop it. Stop having, like fucking, let's say Bobby Lashley and fucking, who do they have now? God, I can't even tell you. Let's say Bobby Lashley, Rey Mysterio. Bobby Lashley wants to beat the shit out of Rey Mysterio. Okay, cool. You think we're going to build that up for the pay-per-view? Fuck no. We're going to have these guys wrestle 3-4 weeks in a row. Why? Stop that. Please. Stop trading wins back and forth.
It's terrible.
Pay-per-view where there's going to be a good payoff.
Because it's not special when you get to the pay-per-view either. Yeah, I agree. Another one, it's actually, speaking of Lashley, Rusev. It's another one that should have been the top guy. That was the one I couldn't fucking think. Rusev is one of their best. And they never utilized him. They just buried him in stupid gimmick after stupid garbage. And no matter what, he always got himself over. Rusev Day was huge. Then they split all that up. And then the Lana thing was huge. And then it was just like, and there you go. You're released now. If you're not going to sign a new contract. They're like, well, why would I sign with you? You're sticking me in these stupid fucking gimmicks. But
The one I know that we all can agree that is going to make WWE instantly better. Vince McMahon, once he goes, it will be a day of like, oh, thank God, because we know there's going to be change coming. It's going to take Vince McMahon not being able to do this anymore. That'll get a lot of people back, I think.
Yeah, his passing will make people curious.
It'll get better if 2 factors. Number 1, if he hasn't dragged the company all the way down by the time his demise comes. Number 2, if he actually hands the reins over to his kids, but obviously lets Triple H kind of run the show, or wrestling people run the show, and not a bunch of Hollywood douchebags and the stockholders kind of run it, or he doesn't sell it off to somebody who's then just going to milk the company to some, sell it to some hedge fund douchebags, and they'll just rip the company, milk it, and then kill it off because they're not going to give a shit about it. So yeah, Vince definitely needs to, the product won't get good until he's dead, and that's a fact.
That's the truth. Sadly true.
Yeah. you know, and it's easy to say that because he's a fucking arsehole. So
yeah, for sure.
All right, AJ, if you want to say anything about how to improve the business now.
I mean, as far as improving the business, I wish that they would just take it a little bit more seriously. I mean, there's not a lot that they can do. A lot of the damage has already been done. It's really unfortunate. AEW can do a little bit less silly shit. WWE could get rid of their writers. They could have they could make coherent storylines and have their promos not be completely written and have these wrestlers speak in their own words. They need to give the wrestlers an opportunity to develop their characters and to develop their own storylines because their content they have in their heads matters, and it's probably more compelling than a random person. WWE needs to stop considering themselves Hollywood and entertainment and consider themselves professional wrestling. Yeah, there's just so much stuff that I mean it's hard to list off, and
I think that's pretty.
That's what I'm saying. It's almost worthless to continue. Just it's too much effort.
I just want to say that what I love gimmick matches. The reason being is that when you have gimmick matches, they're not necessarily your formulaic WWE matches. When you have a ladder there, you know, you've got tables and stuff like that. The formula has to be a lot different, you know, and you know they're obviously going to be bumping off steel and stuff like that. And that's why I like those matches because then it becomes a lot more unpredictable. And
now on that note,
yeah,
I do like the gimmick matches. Not like a ton of them, like the Extreme Rules and the hardcore shit. Like I don't really like that too much now, but you know, if you do the Elimination Chamber once a year, I mean that I like that. That's a good idea. If you do, you know, if you do steel cages, yeah, I mean Money in the Bank once a year, I like that. If you do steel cages, you know, once every half year to year, or every, you know, if you want to do them on Raw, maybe like every 3 months or something, great. You know, one idea that I wish would have necessarily not stuck permanently, but maybe had one title that stuck to this rule was the Championship Scramble idea. This was like in the late 2000s. It was so stupid, but it was an intrigue.
Roberto's favorite.
It was actually, you know, it was it at least kept you watching. It wasn't like one of the matches where you're like, oh fuck, like this isn't gonna matter. Like I'm just gonna watch this and skip this match. Like it was I don't know. I think it's different. I think that you could do it for one title. You don't necessarily have to, or maybe one pay-per-view a year or something like that. You don't have to do it full time like they were doing. I mean, yeah, just freshen it up. Don't try the same shit over and over. Don't push the same people down our throats. Yeah, that's about it.
I mean, they could have. What they could have done is they could have taken this whole Corona situation and really shut the company down and rebirthed it. You know, brought it back for whatever Survivor Series or something.
I think they're so scared of losing what little viewers they have already that an extended hiatus would be catastrophic for them. That's their opinion. I don't think
that's their opinion.
Yeah, it's a shame. They're losing viewers anyway.
They all knew all different kind of, you know, shit's changing. We are wrestling now and all this kind of dumb, I don't know, whatever kind of shit.
Yeah.
Taking that time, let the wrestlers recover, recuperate.
If you want to sorry, I mean, I get your premise. I was just saying that if you want to compete with AEW, that's probably the route to go. You know, revamp yourselves, get the good PR of being safe during this, you know, pandemic or whatever you want to say, and then rebrand. Yeah.
Speaking of which, they're a company with, you know, how many billions in reserve, and they still furloughed and fired a lot of stuff.
They're going to have record profits this year.
Yeah, of course they are, because you know, they went from, he fired 2 people that said stop hoarding all the wrestlers because, you know, we're not making as much money, as well as like the failure of the you know, WWE network. He fired them 2, and then straight after he goes and gets rid of a load of people. So he went from hoarding to just be like, yeah, get rid of it. to save money, obviously.
That's true. I didn't really think about that. Yeah, he did use those two corporate higher ups as like basically scapegoats, which he always does. If you look at these firings, they're always right like a couple weeks before a stock call. Always a couple weeks before an earnings call. And that one, like you said, that one happened where they let go of it was like the number 2 and number 3 in command.
That's right,
with the company. And their whole like you were saying, you're completely correct. Their whole shtick, or as it has been reported. Obviously, we weren't there.
Yeah.
But as it has been reported, it has been said that they wanted them to stop having these contracts where they're just like you said, hoarding wrestlers, just giving them a contract and paying them to sit on the couch and not be utilized. Maybe work like 2, 3, 5 dates a year, and just so they don't work for the other competition.
Yeah, that's it.
And it took a fucking. Wouldn't it be shocking that it took a loss in income for a fucking goddamn greedy sociopath to realize that he needs to let people go?
Yeah, exactly. So has anyone else got anything to add, or should we wrap this up?
I think said enough.
Oh,
all I'm going to say is, I just think for me, the only thing I want them to get rid of or tone down is the gimmick pay-per-views. I think make the Hell in the Cell mean something. Get rid of them and make the Hell in the Cell mean something. Just tone down or make the gimmick matches mean something. That's pretty much the only point I want to add.
They've been doing it. They've been doing that for almost a decade now, and it hadn't worked for a single one that they've tried it with. They tried it with Fatal 4-Way. They tried it with Elimination Chamber. They tried it with TLC. They tried it with they already have one with Survivor Series. They literally already have one and always have had one with Survivor Series that's like this. They tried it with Hell in a Cell. It didn't work. This is a tried and tested method. And not only does it not work, does it not give you more fucking people, but as you were saying, it dilutes the product itself. It dilutes the importance of having one of those matches. We didn't have elimination. If I didn't know Elimination Chamber was going to happen every single fucking year, and it happened at different times throughout the year, like maybe one year it happens in January and then the other year it doesn't happen until June, I'm going to fucking make sure that I watch that match because I don't know when it's going to happen next. If I know there's going to be a whole fucking show, 2 or 3 matches in one night dedicated to one fucking gimmick, why am I going to be excited for that? If I know it's going to be coming every single time. And I'm not saying don't surprise me every fucking time, don't do surprise every episode, but goddamn, how are you supposed to have anything that's entertaining if it's predictable?
Yeah.
Jericho, you did say one thing which made sense for me is have the Elimination Chamber on fucking Raw one night. That would be fucking unique, and that would get me watching. There's these things that keeps things fresh and keeps things on their toes instead of having a whole pay-per-view dedicated to it. It doesn't need to be just for that period. It could something like that. That'd be great. Remember when they did SmackDown? They did a Royal Rumble on SmackDown. Do you remember that?
No,
that was amazing.
I don't remember that, but I do remember
they did a Royal Rumble on SmackDown. I'm sure you guys remember that.
And I'm sure they do DQ and stuff, and I'm sure they do this stuff, but I just feel like there were more like they just had a steel cage match for NXT, but that was to write someone off. That was literally to write someone off of NXT television and to get them onto main event television. And I just don't understand why you only use these matches as props and platforms to not to use in the storyline because that's what they're always for in general, but basically to move pieces around is all they're doing. They're not doing it to develop storylines. They're just doing it to explain the movement of cogs in their machine.
Yeah, totally agree. I think they also need to cut down on the 15 pay-per-views that they have a year because obviously
that was a problem. I mean, shit. We thought it was bad when we were watching it. And we paid attention when they were trying to build up matches with 3 weeks or a month. They don't even hardly build matches up the entire time they have pay-per-views now.
Yeah.
They'll announce it before the fucking show. They'll announce it a week before the show. They might have something where they had with Roman Reigns where they literally have a triple threat fucking match that they have to build for 6 weeks, but Reigns is suspended for a month so they don't acknowledge him for the entirety until the week before the pay-per-view. What? You have it where they did with WrestleMania this year, where they acted like Reigns was going to be in the fucking match the entire time, and then the Friday before WrestleMania, they're like, breaking news: Braun Strowman in the main event of WrestleMania. What the fuck?
Yeah, ridiculous.
And just to wrap it up on that point, Why the fuck did they hold WrestleMania at that time? Why don't you hold WrestleMania later in the year when you can have fans, when you can get a big publicity hit, when you're actually ready to do live entertainment, when you're ready to do your bigger content, when you're ready to do your bigger shit? I don't understand. Everything about this company is penny pinching and conservative money wise.
Here's your reason.
Yep.
Here's your reason. It's because Vince McMahon doesn't give a fuck. That's all.
I mean, obviously, but it's just so infuriating to see a man with so much money do things so conservatively and so. I mean, I won't say non-aggressively because it's not like he didn't do shit with the XFL, but just finagling his way out of fucking anything. With whether it means fucking this Corona bullshit with donating money to the Florida governor so he could do it live, like he's fucking Bill O'Reilly. Whether it be the fucking the bullshit. Oh Jesus. With the XFL, where he said he was going to invest $300 million and he invested like 10 or 12. It's like Jesus Christ. It's this man has no morals. This man has no ethical code. Like it's just ridiculous.
No, I think well, one of the things
firing
is
40% of your workforce when you have record profits. I just sorry, just go on.
Yeah, no, that's I'm just saying, like, he got too complacent with his own product because there was no competition around, and yeah, complacency and needing a quick turnover in profits. Obviously, like we said, since they went and floated over the stock market, that's it. So I've got nothing else to add. Let's wrap this up now because it's an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, I'm done.
All right.
Vince is
All right,
an
guys.
arsehole.
Thank you all for joining us. That was a great discussion. And for any viewers that we had, if we had any, thanks for joining us. And, we'll see you for the next Nerd Nation of Domination Wrestlecast. Fist.
Bye.
Thanks.
Fist, motherfuckers.